picture. So now we have float left paragraph, float right image, and float left paragraph in another article. And look, everything is collapsing, which is what should happen because we don't have any of these techniques applied to make the things that are holding the paragraph and image see them. So let's go ahead and apply a width to our paragraphs, and we will make our paragraphs 100 pixels wide. Now we really have bad stuff happening because there's nothing, the floating is just blowing everything up for the moment. So now we're going to give our articles. We have two articles, one we eventually want to float left and one we eventually want to float right. We're going to give them, let's give them a little more width than that. Let's do this. So 425, okay. So left article is going to get a width of 425 and so is right. Alright, so now I'm going to backpedal and just simply say this is silly. If they're both going to get so many similar settings, it is now time to combine them, because if I were to adjust the width of all the articles and all that, I would just simply want to do it in one place. So for the moment, since this is these two articles have the exact same settings, let's just go ahead and, so far they do. Let's take these three, since we now have three declarations in here, or three properties in here, let's go ahead and have them all in one rule. And when we do that, now it at least moved it over, the floated thing, but we're not containing the floated things. Okay. And let's see what else is there. Okay. The first technique the second technique that I mentioned, the first one we're going to do is if you have a floated something holding floated somethings, they will see, the containing floated element will see the internal floated elements, which we don't have right now. The containing element does not see these images, or sorry, the image in the paragraphs. It doesn't see them because we've pulled the paragraphs in the image out of the normal flow. So even though the code is there, and if we were to look at the code, it would show those things as being in there, just like they do in Dreamweaver, the browser does not see these items as being inside this, because we pulled these items out of the normal flow because we floated them. Now, when we take our left article and float it, and our right article and float it, which actually they're probably sitting right here right now. Once we do that, floated elements see elements that are floated inside of them. So our layout is going to start to look a little bit better really fast. Here we go. Left, now we do have to have unique rules, because the left article is going to be floated left and the right article is going to be floated right. So we're going to create a new rule after our global settings for left and right. We're going to have unique settings now. So this one is just left article, box, float left, and right article, box, float right. Save all, and now we have the beginning of a layout. So our paragraphs are really, really, really narrow. I'm going to fix that because that just, even if it's a demo, it just looks silly, doesn't it? But anyway, the point is that these articles were floated and they held floated things. The minute that you float the thing that holds something inside of it that's floated, the thing that's holding the floated things can now see them. The browser now knows this article has been floated left, and because it's been floated, it can now see and wrap the things that are floated inside of it. However, our section out here does not see, the browser does not recognize these articles as being within this stuff, as being within this. It doesn't see that at all right now. No float has been applied to this section, and no clear float technique has been applied. So let's do some quick work here. First of all, let's take our left and right articles and make them, they are 425 pixels wide. Why do they? Oh, wrong thing. That's why. Our paragraphs within our articles, and let's not make them 100 anymore. Let's make them more like 300 and see what we get. That might be too wide, but yeah, it's too. So when this happens inside a box, it means this is too wide and it's pushing that down. So we'll just go over to our box, take that width down. There we go. All right, that's better. Now, how do we get this gray thing to hold the darker gray thing? Well, in this case, we're going to do that clear float. So here we go. We are going to, so this is a section. It holds floated elements. The clear float technique has to happen inside the thing that holds the floated elements. So here we go. It is a section that is holding floated elements. So we're going to go down here and put in a line break. And then we are going to close our line break. And right now, nothing has changed, because this line break doesn't have a special class applied to it to make it stop the floating. And since this is a class that I will use again and again, I'm going to put it way up towards the top here, and I'm going to create a new CSS rule. It's a class, and we will go into classes more later. So classes begin with a dot. IDs begin with pound symbols. So this is a class, dot, and then clear float inside main CSS. And all this rule does is one thing: box, clear, both, apply. Now at this point, our layout, if I were to save it and refresh it, would do the exact same thing. Why? Because this BR has not had the class applied to it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go inside our BR tag, space, and then choose class. And look, there's only one class at the moment. I'm going to choose clear float. So save all. And there you go. Now everybody's happy. We have a line break with a class of clear float just before the thing, this thing, that is holding a bunch of floated stuff. And that, when you say in this clear float class, stop the floating, that makes this containing element, the browser now will recognize that there's things inside of it that it needs to render. So now we have our layout. And that is how you can get floated elements to be seen by their containing elements. We went over two techniques. One technique, we had floated elements inside of an article, and the article was then floated as well. So the floated article now sees the floated paragraph and image and can wrap it. Then we had the section. In the section, there's no need to float it. It's the entire width of the area it's in. And to get it to see the floated elements, before the section ended, we put a BR in it and applied a class of clear float to it. The class of clear float, we had to create it, and then the setting in it is just a clear of both, and that's code for stop. Okay, so that is how you work with floats.